up, everybody? Anthoninos here with JCAE Fishing, and you know what the Fruck's going on. We got the Savage Gear Fruck, cross between a topwater duck and the topwater frog. Okay, so first let's talk about how this came about. Everybody remembers Savage Gear's original topwater duck. It was a hard body. It had these props at the end, which gave a very nice wake, whether you were constantly retrieving it or if you were doing a jerking motion. Now, when I first got this bait and I caught my first fish, I thought, man, it would be so cool if Savage Gear made a soft body. It could have the same props at the end. It could be a soft body, and instead of this treble hook and the treble hook that you could add here at the bottom, they could just put the two hooks that you would usually put on a soft body bait. Well, I think that they knew that a lot of people wanted that and fulfilled the request. So here is their topwater Fruck. Now, it doesn't have the prop feed on the end, which is why it's a Fruck, a cross between a frog and a duck. So this thing is basically the walk of a frog, which we'll talk about a little bit later because there's a little more uniqueness with this. But it is the look of a duck. It's that duck body. So it's a pretty good mix of what the people wanted. So here I have the mallard colorway, just because if I'm going to buy a duck lure, I want the mallard colorway. I know I'm usually a lighter, dark topwater user, but I just love it. And when I bought the original topwater duck, I got that wood duck color because they were out of the mallard, and I like that. So let's be honest, when a bass sees this, they're not actually going to think it's a duck. It has a nice walk. It looks good. They'll probably think it's a frog or something. So the whole duck thing is really a consumer thing. Like, oh, can we get a bass or a pike to bite on the duck? And you will be able to. It's a really nice lure. But for that reason in itself, that is why I choose the mallard and the wood duck. If you're more of the conventional topwater fisherman, you already know what I'm going to recommend. They have a black and they have a yellow, and that yellow is about the closest thing as you're going to get to a bone or a white. So if you like the light and dark, it's black and yellow. If you want to have fun with it, because it is a duck lure, mallard colorway, wood duck colorway. What you see here is the 3/4 ounce, 3-inch Fruck. It also comes in a 4-inch model, which is also a lot wider, and that's going to be 1.5 ounces. Alright, so I mentioned the way that this walks previously. This elongated body, which comes up to this head, makes for a really good wide walk, which is different than your conventional topwater frog, which is going to make very little side-to-side action. Because of that long body and the way the head comes up, this thing makes very wide topwater moves when you are reeling it in. And that's the best thing about this, especially if you're going for pike, because covering that extra water side to side is really going to entice that fish. So that is definitely something I like about this lure. Let's talk about some of the key features. First of all, those hooks are absolutely heavy duty. It's the first thing I noticed when even looking at this lure in store. They did a great job with that. Those are heavy duty hooks. They're not going to bend. They're not going to get snagged. And if that pierces a fish, I have a very hard time believing that that fish is going to get off. In addition, there's a great design to the back of this lure. Where those wings are, they have that nice indent there. And as you can see, that is perfectly having the hook sit there. And I think that makes for a great additional weed guard. It's almost like on a frog where it's just that smooth back. The hook point kind of sticks out a little bit. But as you can see on here, it goes right up to that wing. And I think because of that reason, you're going to have a lot less snags. One thing I don't like about this lure so far is the feet on the back. As you can see, they twist around a little bit, and it seems like if this bait gets attacked enough times, these legs are going to come right off. I mean, if the bass misses this lure, misses those hooks and just hits the back here and pulls on that leg, I feel like that's going to break off. So that is the one thing that I'm not too fond about with this bait. Now, since this is a longer topwater, I recommend adding a trailer hook in the back. It's not going to be weedless anymore, but in case of that short strike, you are going to get that fish. And I think that is a solution to the issue with the feet, because I think that if it grabs it and gets that hook, that's going to stop it from biting and pulling on these feet. So definitely when using this, if you're in a situation where you don't have to be completely weedless, toss a trailer hook on there. I think you're really going to like the results. For a quick comparison, what do I recommend? The hard body or the soft body? I'm going to say it comes down to what you're fishing for. For pike, I like the hard body. For bass, I like the soft body. Both of them are totally different lures. They're both ducks, but they both have a totally different topwater action and totally different approach. So depending on the species you're going for and the type of topwater commotion you're trying to make, either of these will work well. The last thing I want to talk about is the setup that I would recommend throwing these on. If you're using the 4-inch model, which is not the one I have in hand, at 1.5 ounces, I'm going to assume that you're probably doing some pike fishing. For that, I'm going to recommend medium heavy to heavy and more on the heavy side, because if you're fighting a pike using that large of a bait, you're probably anticipating a bigger fish, and I would say you definitely want that extra strength. As far as the line, I'm definitely going to go with braid on this one. And for this model, the 3-inch at 3/4 ounce, I'm going to recommend medium to medium heavy depending on what you're doing. This is light enough where you can get away with a medium rod. I would recommend medium heavy just because if I'm using a lure like this, my goal is to catch a pretty big bass. And I think that that would be your guys' goal too. Again, with this one, braid, you could definitely get away with mono on either of them. I'm just more so into braid, and I'd say this one you could definitely get away with mono. That is it, guys. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do. We'll be making more review videos soon. I'm trying to get videos out as quick as I can. I'm in school, so whenever I have the time, I try and bust one out. When it gets later in the season, I'll be doing some fishing videos and some other things, so stay tuned, subscribe, and thank you for watching.